Hey y'all, welcome to the What's My Story podcast. Man, today is January 3rd, 2022, and this is the first episode of the year. Wow. I don't know if you felt like 2021 went by super fast, but it really did. It really did. And so welcome to the What's My Story podcast. I'm Robert Kennedy III, RK3. That's me. And I am here to talk to you today about something super important, something that I believe in: storytelling. Yeah. So before we get started, I want to point out a few things to you. Number one, if you want a little bit more information about the show, about the programs, courses, all of the different things that we have going on, and you want to get connected even further with us, you can do that in a couple of ways. Number one, you can text me at 410-936-4049. That's 410-936-4049. Or you can join our community by heading over to the Storytellers Growth Lab. Go to storytellersgrowthlab.com and just click the button that where it says join the community, and you can be a part of our storytellers community. Who should join the community? Anyone who wants to upgrade their storytelling, anyone who wants to improve their visibility and their small business visibility through the art of storytelling, especially on video. This is what we do in the Storytellers Growth Lab. You can also join us for a couple of other things that we have going on. Every Monday morning at 8:30 a.m. we start the week off with a moment of motivation I'm messing up my words this morning, that we call the Monday Morning Get Up. So join us for that. And also, if you've got business ideas, things that you really want to work through, and you just need an extra brain to help you with that, then join me for what we call the Brain Power Half Hour. And you can get that by going to rk3.live/BP30. rk3.live/BP30 for the Brain Power Half Hour. So today, what our episode is about is this: you have a unique position in 2022. There are so many different platforms that you need to be able to access if you are going to be able to create greater visibility for your business. And one of the things that you've got to be able to do is stand out. How do you do that? Well, you stand out. Storytelling is one of the best ways that allows you to stand out. So let's walk through some of that today. Today, we're going to really just talk about 3 reasons why you and your business need to develop your story in 2022 to sell more, to impact more, to influence more. So let's walk through that. So reason number 1 that I believe a story is much more impactful than simply data or facts is that facts tell, stories sell. You might have heard that before, but I'm saying it to you again. Facts tell, stories sell. Here's an example. And if you've been around me any length of time, you've seen this, you've heard me tell this story. I was sitting in my living room in the state of Massachusetts, and the doorbell rang. I got up and went to the window, and I looked out the window, and there's this guy in the driveway, and he was standing there with a display board. Now, if you look at the display board, there are these little squares on the display board. So I open my door and I say to him, "Hey, how you doing?" He says, "Hey, I've been going through your neighborhood and we're selling carpet, and I just wanted to share with you the different types of carpet that we've got. We've got Berber, we've got the Austin Power Shag, we've got high pile carpet." And he asked me to touch these different swatches that he has on the display board. So we go through this for about 2 or 3 minutes. And after I touch the swatches and I nod my head courteously, right, I then open my door and show him that I've got hardwood on the inside of my house. Yeah. Right. So he said, "Oh, you've got hardwood. Thanks. Yeah. I'll see you a little bit later." Now, he lost me right at the beginning because he jumped in and started telling me about the carpet and the different types of carpet and the different styles of carpet that he had. but he could have done this another way. What is one thing that he could have done, or how could he have approached it differently? Well, let me share with you a different way that he could approach it. He could have used storytelling a little bit. He could have said to me, I've been speaking with your neighbors and I noticed that you have this oil tank outside here. How are you feeling about your heating bill? And I would have said, man, my heating bill, I'm not too thrilled with it right now. And he could have responded, well, yeah, I was speaking with Bill across the street and he was telling me how crazy the oil heating has been recently. What if I told you there was a way for you to save a lot more money on your heating bill? And I would have said, listening, interested. I would definitely like to save some money on my heating bill. Well, last year, I went to Judy's house across the street and she had some hardwood in her house. But what we did was we walked through, we looked and we measured and we installed carpet in certain areas of the house. And in some areas, it wasn't full wall-to-wall carpet. It was just an area rug in certain places. And over the course of 6 months, what she did was she shared with me how her heating was going. And she saved about 35% on her heating bill since we installed some stuff. So he could have used a story to share with me what was going on. He could have used a story to share or to pique my interest a bit more, right? And storytelling has several different elements, right? Context, characters, conflict, conclusion. There's several different elements in storytelling, and I've got to be able to use those elements in order to gain the connection with my audience, because I have a familiarity or have a sense of what they need. So I've got to figure out where their tension is. I've got to figure out where their challenge or their obstacle is, and then I can meet their need, right? So let me back into some of the elements of what I just shared with you as far as the tip goes, right? So I just mentioned 4 things to you: characters, context, conflict, and conclusion. So he could have said, I've been speaking with your neighbors. I've been going around your neighborhood. Ooh, so he set the tone here. He's let me know that he's been going around my neighborhood. So he's familiar with the people in my neighborhood. He's not somebody that's just driving through, or he's coming from a totally different state and they assigned him to my address. And so he just showed up at my house. He said, listen, he could have said in that sentence, I've been going around your neighborhood. So I have some familiarity with what's going on. Barrier number 1. Okay. And then he could have said, I've been speaking with your neighbors and I noticed that you have an oil tank outside here. So now, barrier number 2, I've been looking around the neighborhood and I noticed there's something specific that I notice in the neighborhood here. I noticed that a lot of the houses have this oil tank outside, and I noticed that you, Robert, or you, sir, have an oil tank outside here. So he's speaking directly to not just the oil tank, but he's speaking to me. I noticed that you have an oil tank out here. So I'm this character that he's now talking to. And then after he notices the oil tank, he can say, how are you feeling about the oil bill? And now he's eliciting an emotion inside of me. I'm now searching my mental Rolodex and saying, oh my gosh, I feel this way. He's going through and he's pulling out a specific emotion or challenge or feeling inside of me, right? And that happens especially when you ask people questions. So I don't know if you have been connected with me. If you're not connected with me on LinkedIn, here's what I'm going to do after we do this. I actually wrote a newsletter article last week, or the last week of 2021, about this story. And if you want to go a little bit deeper, I can share that link for that newsletter story with this carpet story inside of the comments on LinkedIn. If you're interested in that, do me a favor. You can just send me a text, 936-4049 and say carpet story. Okay, just type the words carpet story and I'll send you the link to the carpet story. All right. So reason number one why you and your business need to develop a story in 2022. Number one, facts tell, stories tell. Yep, I'm trying to get over a little cold cough here. Hold on one second. Let me grab some water. Excellent. Reason number two that you and your business need to develop your story in 2022 is this. Stories tell why. Stories tell why. Why am I doing this? Why am I selling this particular product? Why do I think this product is the answer for your need? Why did I choose this particular product anyway? Why did I choose to build this, invent this, make this, work with this? I was doing some work with SSA, the Social Security Administration, and I was speaking with some of their leaders. Now, the challenge for a lot of them was remaining motivated when the work was so mundane, and not just them, but a lot of the people that they led, their teams. And that was a challenge that was coming out in our session together. So as they kept talking about how challenging it was to motivate people, I asked them this question. I asked one of them this question. I said, do you have a mom or a grandmother? And they nodded, yeah, I do. And then I asked, this thing that you keep talking about, this Medicare plan that you keep talking about, is that important for them and their health? And again, they nodded, yeah. Then I asked one more question. So then if you're careless about the information on the spreadsheets that we're talking about, who does it ultimately affect? And of course, the answer comes back, yeah, grandma. So I ask now a final question. Is that a story that you can tell your team that would help them see the importance of the work? And they said, yeah, I think so. I think we can use that. We can create connection from the spreadsheets, from the Excel spreadsheets. We can create connection to a better, more relatable reason why they do what they do. So if you think about this in this way, if you're a business owner and you think about why you started your business, I want you to think about, was there some situation that affected you? Was there some experience you went through that led to you deciding to start that business or start it in that particular area? And if you can think about that, can you develop a story around that? And then when you tell that story, I want you to think about, is there something in that story that is relatable for your audience? Is there something inside of why you do what you do that can connect to the particular audience that you're talking to? All of us have a reason why we do what we do. Sometimes that reason is intentional and sometimes it's unconscious, but if we think about it, we ultimately come to a reason why we do something. Sometimes that's rooted in childhood. Sometimes that's rooted in an adult experience. Sometimes that's rooted in something that happened to somebody else who's important to you. Whatever the reason is, there's always a reason why you decide to do something. So for you who have a business, or for you who are in a corporate position, or you're pushing to get to a different position, why? And what's the story that surrounds that? All right, so that's reason number two. Number one, facts tell, stories sell, tongue twister. All right. Number two, stories tell why. Number three reason why you need to develop your story in 2022 is this. Stories tell what you believe. Stories tell what you believe. A couple episodes ago, I believe it was episode 35 with S. Monique Smith. S. Monique Smith is someone who is a living Jane Doe, as in she doesn't know officially where she came from. She doesn't officially have a birth certificate. She doesn't have any documentation that tells her or anybody who she is and officially how old she is and all of that information. And because she went through this experience, she began to do some work with the Center for Missing and Exploited Persons. Now, she does not own a company that searches for missing and exploited people. She's actually in the real estate industry, and she owns or co-owns a construction company. And inside of that, though, if you think about what a construction company represents, a construction company represents building a home, building a place that people can create a connection to or identify with. And so inside of the story that she tells about herself, and then the story that she tells about her business, there's this line that she can draw that says she believes everyone deserves an identity and a place to call their own. Right? She believes that everyone deserves security or safety and a place that they can call their own. A place that they can identify with. Right? And so that story, the story that she can tell, the story that she does tell, creates or brings out something that she really believes in. I'll use myself as an example. As a kid, I went through a situation where my voice was silenced, right? There were some people that would take care of me in my home, not my parents, and they would say, Bobby, you talk too much. Bobby, you ask too many questions. You talk too much. You talk too much. You talk too much. And so I became silent. And so it was not until in my adult years, in my late teens to early 20s, that I began to speak out more and recover some of my voice, right? So because I went through this, because this is the story that I experienced, because I was told I talk too much, now I train leaders, I train business owners on communication and storytelling because I believe that everyone's words deserve to be heard. That's my why and what I believe. So as I share what I believe and people say, yeah, that's ultimately where Robert has planted his flag. That's what Robert really believes. It now also creates a connection with them, and they begin to wonder, hey, do I believe that same thing? Or do I connect to that belief at all? So as a tip here, I want you to think about your core beliefs and what are the stories that surround that. What do you believe? How often do you sit down and think about what you actually believe? And if you think about your belief systems, or you think about the things that you believe, what do you prioritize? What do you believe most? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. What do you believe? And as you think about your beliefs, and as you think about the priority beliefs, what are the stories that you can develop and connect to those beliefs so that you can then be able to share those with your tribe, your group, your audience, your community? Think about your core beliefs and the stories surrounding your beliefs. So if I recap all of these reasons, these 3 reasons why I believe you and your business need to develop a story develop your story, not just a story, develop your story in 2022 is because, number one, if you have a business and you want to share what that business does, or if you want to sell, or if you want to influence, if you're in a marketplace or if you're in a corporate space and you want to influence, you can share facts, you can share data if you want. But reason number one is facts tell, stories sell. Reason number two, why I believe you and your business need to develop a story, your story in 2022, is stories tell why. Stories tell why you do what you do. Stories share what you're passionate about. Stories share why maybe the origin or the genesis of your interest in a particular area. And then reason number three, stories tell what you believe. Stories share your core belief. You've heard this already, that when people do business, they do business with people they know, like, and trust. And the way to help people know, like, and trust you is to be able to share things with them, be vulnerable, be transparent, and share with them things that connect with who they are and where they are. Right? If you're meeting people here, if you meet people who are here and you are 15 steps above them and there's no way for them to connect with you, they're looking at you and they're saying, oh, that's nice. That's a nice to have, but they don't believe that you really understand who they are or where they are and can connect with where they are, then it's going to be difficult for you to say, hey, here's this thing that I have that can help you, and for them to believe that you understand their challenge enough to make the investment to purchase that. So you want to make sure that you are sharing with people, with your audience, how you connect or how you understand and how you relate to the experience or the challenge or the circumstance that they are going through. All right. So facts tell, stories tell why, and stories tell what you believe. I want to share one last thing with you. In February, on the 22nd and 23rd, we're going to be sharing this information a little bit more widely soon, but we're going to be going deeper on this stuff. We're going to be going deeper on how you can develop your story, and not only develop that story, but then take that story to a stage. And when we talk stages, we're not just talking about auditoriums and hotel ballrooms and risers, right? We're talking about stages as in places where people can access you and your information. So those stages might be YouTube. Those stages might be podcasts. Those stages might be live streaming on a channel like this, like LinkedIn, like Facebook, like Twitter, like TikTok, like Instagram. Wherever your stages are, if you can develop out your story and take it to that stage, then you're more likely to connect with a group of people who have the challenge that your solution can solve. All right. So the Story to Stage Summit is going to be February 22nd and 23rd. Do me a favor. If you want to get information about that Story to Stage Summit, and I'm saying so many different things today that are like tongue twisters, aren't they? All right. If you want information, if you want to be put on the waiting list for the Story to Stage Summit, do me a favor. Text Story to Stage, one word, no spaces. Okay. Don't need to be capital. Text, it should be right in the ticker right below me. Text Story to Stage to 410-936-4049. Text Story to Stage to 410-936-4049. You'll be put on that waiting list, and within a few days, we're going to start sending out that information, and you'll be one of the first to receive that information. All right. So text Story to Stage to 410-936-4049. I hope this has been valuable for you. And more than that, I hope that you are not just going to listen to it, but that you're going to take the information and move to action on it. I like to say this at the end of every episode. Everything that happens to you in your life is your stuff. Your stuff is your story, and your story deserves a stage. In 2022, make sure that you tell that story. I'm Robert Kennedy III, RK3. I'll see you on the next episode of the What's My Story podcast. Peace.